Hello, Sky Traders. This is Mina, and this is the first episode of the weekly recap series that we're going to have going forward. So, basically, in this series, we're going to cover economic calendar, major forex pairs, and major crypto pairs. So, basically, we're going to consider all of the major economic events that happen all over the week and what was their effect on the major forex pairs and crypto pairs. Also, don't forget to comment down below what are the currencies, assets, commodities, indices, or any kind of tradable asset that you'd like us to discuss and consider in future videos. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, this week was full of significant events that really affected most of the major exotics forex pairs, crypto, indices, commodities, metals, like mostly all of the tradable assets. So let's have a look at the first major event, which is basically retail sales. Was released August 1st, Monday, 8 a.m. GMT plus 2. You can definitely do the conversion of the time zone using your platform or the economic calendar that you usually use. So this event was mainly for, or specifically for, the German retail sales year over year, June, and the actual numbers was negative 8.8, while the previous one was 1.1 and the expected was negative 8. So basically it was slightly lower than what expected. And for those who don't know, retail sales is a measure of changes in the sales of the retail sector. In this case would be in the German retail sector, and it shows the performance of the retail sector in the short term. So percent change reflect the rate of change of such sales, and the changes are widely followed as an indicator of consumer spending. So positive economic growth anticipates bullish for the euro, while a low reading definitely anticipates negative or bearish for the euro. In next videos, we're going to have a look at euro USD and every kind of chart and pair that was affected directly and indirectly from those releases or macro events. So, going forward, next event was related to USD, which is basically United States of America, and it was the ISM manufacturing PMI for July. It was released August 1st, Monday, 16 p.m. GMT plus 2. And the actual numbers were 52.8. What was expected was 52, so it's basically was slightly higher than what was expected, and the previous numbers was 53. So again, the ISM is the Institute for Supply Management, and this index shows business conditions in the U.S. manufacturing sector, and it's like significant indicator of the overall economic condition in the U.S. So result above 50 is seen as positive usually for USD, while results below 50 is seen as negative. So basically, the current numbers are 52.8, so it's considered kindly positive, or bullish for the USD. Next event was related to AUD, and it was the RBA interest rate decision released on August 2nd, Monday, 6:30 a.m. GMT plus 2. And the actual numbers or the interest rate decision was 1.85, and it's actually was what was expected, 1.85. Previous numbers was 1.35, and for sure the RBA is hawkish about the inflationary outlook of the economy and rises the interest rate, it's positive or bullish for the AUD. So likewise, if RBA has a dovish view on the Australian economy and keeps the ongoing interest rate or cuts the interest rate, it's seen as negative or bearish. And definitely they increased the interest rate because most of the economies right now are trying to was then again is the USD, so they're trying to increase their interest rate, obviously. The second one or the following event was related to NZD or New Zealand, and it was the employment change for the second quarter. It was released on August 3rd, Monday, midnight 45 a.m. GMT plus 2. Again, you can do the time conversion from your platform or the economic calendar that you use. And so basically the actual change was 0. The previous one was 0.1, and what was expected is 0.4. So again, it was lower than what was expected. And basically the employment change is a measure of the change in the number of employed people in New Zealand. And generally speaking, a rise in this indicator has a positive implication for consumer spending. So it kind of stimulates economic growth. And a high reading is seen as positive or bullish for the New Zealand dollar, while a low reading is seen as negative or bearish. Going on, the following event was related to euro pairs or euro related pairs, and it was the announcement of the retail sales August 3rd, Monday, 11 a.m. GMT plus 2. So the actual number was negative 3.7. What was expected is negative 1.7, so it was slightly lower or like significantly lower, let's be honest, than what was expected. The previous was 0.4. And again, it's a measure of change in the sales of the Eurozone retail sector. So this one for the whole Eurozone retail sector. And again, it shows the performance of the retail sector in short term. So basically, the change reflect the rate of change of such sales. On or moving forward, we had the ISM Services PMI announcement was released on August 3rd, Monday, 16 p.m. GMT plus 2. And numbers was 56.7. What was expected was 53.5. So again, slightly higher than what was expected. So indicates good economy for the US in front of most of the other forex pairs. The previous numbers was 55.3. So again, there is a growth in the service PMI. And again, it was released by the Institute for Supply Management, and this basically shows business condition in the US non-manufacturing sector. So it's worth noting that the non-manufacturing sector doesn't influence either positively or negatively the GDP as much as the ISM manufacturing does. So again, a result above 50 is positive and below 50 is negative or bearish for the USD. Another significant event related to AUD, and it's the trade balance was released August 4th, Monday, 3:30 a.m. GMT plus 2. And the trade balance is basically the difference in the value of its imports and exports of Australian goods. So export data can give an important reflection of Australian growth, while imports provide an indication of domestic demand. So trade balance gives an early indication of the net export performance. So basically, if a steady demand in exchange for Australian exports is seen, that would turn into a positive growth in the trade balance, and that should be positive for the AUD. And again, yeah, the actual number was positive and higher than what was expected with 1,670 million. What was expected was like 1,400 millions, and the previous was 1,500 millions. Moving forward, another really significant event. This was like the highlight of the week, which is the Bank of England interest rate decision. It was released August 4th, Monday, 13 p.m. GMT plus 2. And it was not only like the interest rate decision, but also Bank of England minutes, monetary policy report, asset purchase facility, vote rate cut, MPC vote rate cut. But definitely we're going to consider like the most important topic, which is the interest rate decision. Definitely was this change in the interest rate was increased to 1.75. The previous one was 1.25. But I mean, what was expected actually is 1.775. So basically, the interest rate has risen as what was expected, which is 1.75, by almost 500 basis points. So basically, 0.5% increase. It reviews economic and financial conditions, determining the appropriate stance of monetary policy and assess the risk to its long run goals of price stability and sustainable economic growth. So again, it's considered as a clear guide to the future RBA interest rate policy. And any kind of change in this report affect the AUD volatility. So we can expect high volatility during this the period of the announcement. We had the non-farm payrolls. So the actual numbers were 528K. What was expected is 250K. So again, it was ridiculously higher than what was expected. And the previous numbers were 398. And basically, this number presents the number of new jobs created during the previous month. So it basically indicates a higher growth in the economy and in all non-agriculture business, by the way. So the monthly changes in payrolls can be extremely volatile due to its high relation with economic policy decisions made by the central bank. And the number is also subject to strong reviews in the upcoming months, and those reviews will also tend to trigger volatility into Forex board. generally speaking, higher reading is seen as bullish or positive for the USD, and lower reading is seen as negative or bearish for the USD. Last major event that happened during the week was released on August 5th, Monday, for 2:30 p.m. GMT plus 2, and it was related to Canada, or like affecting Canadian dollar. And it's basically the unemployment rate, or net change in employment. The actual numbers was negative 30.6. What was expected is 20, so it was ridiculously lower than what was expected. And the previous number was negative 43.2. So again, it's higher than the previous number, but ridiculously lower than what was expected. And this is again the measure of the change in the number of employed people in Canada. So generally speaking, a rise in the indicator has positive implication for consumer spending. So this can stimulate economic growth. And a higher reading is seen as positive, again, or bullish for the Canadian dollar, while a low reading is seen as negative or bearish. So this was the most significant events that happened during the week. In next videos, we're going to have a look at charts for the major forex pairs and the major crypto pairs, and see what exactly was the effect of those economic events on such pairs. One really important note here is that we don't actually care about the direction of the price. We do care about the volatility. So basically, if you're, for example, see higher numbers than what was expected, and you can see that, hey, this is indication of a bullish trend or a bearish trend if the numbers was lower than, way much lower than what was expected, or even lower than the previous numbers. So this is basically a bearish. Actually, what's important than this is the volatility. We need to see times where there's a high volatility, there's a volume in the market, rather than what's the direction that this economic event should push or trigger the price to. So in next videos, we're gonna discuss what exactly was the effect and how we can take benefit of those events in our trading behavior, in our trading style, or even like avoid trading at all if it's not worth, or if you're not prepared for this, or if we actually don't see a significant level that we need to trade at. So thank you so much for watching, and let's keep up in the next videos.